I wish that was true. I wish there were thousands of people around cheering me on for coming on FM Scout. Yes, I want to thank FM Scout for inviting me to do a video for them. It's yes, it's about time. You guys have been asking for this for a while now. Say hello to the Christmas tree. My name is Daljit. Welcome to the show. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. Stay in touch with notifications. I do stream on YouTube quite regularly, occasionally on Twitch on the weekends. And yes, if you have questions, just pop in on the streams and ask away. If you do find this video interesting, yes, I have a few more coming up, including, yes, I think I've lost count. It's about 5 or 6 tactics that are going to be popping up in the next couple of days. So keep an eye out for these videos on my social media channels, and I'll be tweeting them when they go up. It was a time when Milan won the Champions League under Carlo Ancelotti using a Christmas tree formation. For those of you who still remember the system, it was rare. It featured Ambrosini, Andre Pirlo, Gattuso, Clarence Seedorf, the irrepressible Kaká, Inzaghi up front. These were players that lit up that formation. It was exciting to watch, but we have to remember one thing. This was a formation that was forced onto Carlo Ancelotti because he preferred a 4-4-2 at that time. With the players at his disposal, AC Milan, he decided, okay, fine, I've got these 3 really good midfielders. I need to put them on the pitch. And he built the system around it. They found a lot of success with it, but not a lot of teams were successful with the system. We have to remember why that system was successful and why it was so difficult to replicate. For one thing, he needed a world-class playmaker, and they had one in the form of Andre Pirlo. We also had Kaká dropping off a lot, and the irrepressible Clarence Seedorf. He was the actual fulcrum in attack, who would drop off, create space. You know, he would help the build up on the left flank. He would arrive late in the box. He would switch plays. So this was a phenomenally exciting system. Anybody who was following AC Milan at that time would have recognized this system, and they would have been impressed. I was certainly impressed with the way AC Milan used to play. Now, the question has always been asked, can this be replicated on Football Manager? Now, I'll give you the straight answer: no, it can't be. It's difficult. It is possible to make it play. You can bring alive the Kaká role. Seedorf is a bit harder, right? Because he played like a playmaker, a box. He was a cross between a few roles, right? So getting him to play in that position, getting that role to work perfectly well in Football Manager, it's not gonna really work. So on today's show, what I plan to do is I plan to create a Christmas tree formation. I'll show you how I make my Christmas tree formation. The beautiful thing about FM21 right now is the fact that AMCs are sexy again, right? So why stop at 1? Why don't we just have 2 AMCs, you know, playing off a striker in front, and create the kind of movement that we want in the final third with these central attacking patterns of attack that everybody loves to watch. Now, there are some caveats here. When you use this system, please ensure that you have a good team. I'm just going to put it out there. It's not an easy system to get right, because you need the wing backs to come up the pitch and support the attacks. You need the play to go through the middle, so you need to have really good players. You need a DLP that's very good. You need a playmaker. You need a hatchet man in midfield as well. You also need 2 roles in front behind the striker who are offensive minded, right? They have to get involved in attacks. They have to be able to move through the channels. So there's going to be a lot of movement going on in the final third, and that's really the trick to making the AMC tick in this game. Tick, not bad, eh? It's early in the morning, so I'm definitely sharp at the moment. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to explain the tactic right now, and then after I explain the tactic, we're going to I'm going to simplify this whole process. I'm not going to take too much time with the video. I'm going to show you the instructions and how I expect this tactic to play. Then of course I'm going to break out and basically just let you know what the attributes required for the role are, and of course the challenges that you may face playing the system. As with any formation, I'm going to start with the team instructions first. I want to define how the team is supposed to play within the set of instructions that we can apply to the whole team. And I'm going to leave some of these instructions for you to apply, because while I like using the offside trap in this setup, now you really need a defense that is intelligent, a defense that has got very good positioning and awareness to pull off an offside trap playing the Christmas tree, because you can't ignore the fact that two of your wingbacks are going to be bombing up the flanks. When both of them bomb up the flanks, you only have two central defenders left to protect you. So here you could play the offside trap and it will protect your backline, but you also don't want to be too expansive with your system, leaving too many gaps that the opposition can exploit. So we want to play with a standard line of engagement with a high defensive line. We also want to be fairly aggressive, meaning when the opposition get into the midfield area, we want to go hard on them. We want to win the ball. We don't want them to move too deep into our territory. So here, I would prefer using the offside trap, right? Because we only have two defenders. So I would definitely go with use tighter marking, get stuck in, and the offside trap. However, if you don't have the players for this, and you suffer from balls over the top, then I suggest you may not want to play with the system, because this is an aggressive setup, right? So you got a standard line of engagement, a higher defensive line. Right? We want to distribute the ball. We're going to use the keeper to distribute it to the central defenders, and we are going to be playing with the counter press and the counter. So this is an aggressive system where we're going to try and keep possession of the ball. When we lose the ball, we're going to try and win it back almost immediately with counter press. You can see the number of roles or players who are going to be trying to win the ball back. What does this mean? It means that you're willing to break your formation up. There'll be a gap between your midfield and your back line. So this is something that we have to bear in mind. These three central midfielders are absolutely crucial. You can't afford to choose players here who have low bravery. So this is really important. So all three players have to be able to win the ball. They'll have to support the flanks when the wingbacks go forward. Counter attack is almost mandatory here. Now, when we get to the in possession instructions, now they're pretty straightforward. We are going very narrow. This is going to help us with the counter press. We're going to keep, and going very narrow also encourages us to use the inside track of the pitch, because we will be most of the players will be passing the ball inside. So that's really something that we want to do, because we're also a very narrow formation. We're playing out of defense, focusing the play to the middle. Now, this is going out after the patch. You want to focus the play to the middle. What this does is it encourages your passes to go into the interior areas of the pitch, and it will open up space on the flanks with your wingbacks as well. So once you keep the possession, you create the overloads in the middle, your wingbacks will be relatively free. If you do lose the ball, the compression in midfield is going to allow you to win the ball back more effectively, which brings me back to my first point. You gotta get players who can win the ball back. So they will have to have bravery and determination, some tackling in them, or mostly all of them have to be able to tackle. And then we've got the underlaps. Now the underlaps are gonna, again, your passes are gonna be more focused inwards. So the players out on the flanks, when they get the ball, what they're gonna do is they're gonna look inside for the passes. Now, why have I gone for underlaps? I really want to exploit the mentality here. So we are really pushing these boys to the maximum tilt, so that they're gonna switch into almost a 2-5-2-1 when they're attacking. So your backline, the two players here, they absolutely need to be able to bring the ball out of defense. They have to be comfortable on the ball. They will be required to bring the ball out. It's a relatively risky system, which is the reason why I'm not advising the faint-hearted to use the system. Then we've got pass into space. Now this is situational. It'll come embedded into the tactic. However, there is a big caveat here. Pass into space should never be used as a default instruction. That is my personal opinion, right? Because when you start playing with teams that are sitting back, not giving you any space, formations that play a deep 4-2-3-1, for example, or you've got fullbacks who don't want to go up the pitch, you're playing against a 5-3-2, any number of situations, okay, you will find that this instruction gives the ball away to the opposition only for them to restart their attack. So my advice, you can either use it at the start of a game and be a bit more aggressive. As you can see, the intensity of the system is very high, and then you can push for the early goal. If it doesn't come, take it off and become a bit more patient with your build-up. Now hit the early cross because you want to always hit the teams before they settle into their defensive phase, right? So when they settle into defense, it's usually a lot harder for you to break defensive sides down, which is the reason why I prefer to hit the early cross. Now, what does this instruction actually do? What it does is, you're sometimes going to be crossing the ball in these areas of the pitch. There's also going to be a possibility that you might find that, oh, my crosses are getting blocked. This is annoying. I can't get my crosses in. You can modify the system slightly, right? You can. You can play fullbacks on support with the overlap as well. Why am I using overlaps? Because I want to influence the starting mentality of all these players. Whenever you use an overlap instruction, it reduces the mentality of it increases the mentality of the wingback and reduces the mentality of players here. But of course, we don't have anybody here. We also want these players to take fewer risks and close down more. The mentality of the system is going to be positive. In most cases, you can also play it on balance. I wouldn't go any higher than that. Otherwise, you just see a lot of hoofing the ball, especially from the sweeper keeper. If you find the sweeper keeper is always launching these balls very early, then I don't particularly mind if he does that. If I were to use Milinkovic-Savic here, he's going to be the perfect player to receive the ball because he's one of the very few AMCs in the world that have got a jumping reach to equal some of the best defenders in the world. So he could just get the ball, hold it up and knock it forward for the complete forward. So yeah, if you have those kind of players, that is fine. All right, so mentality will be on positive. As you can see, I work from the back to the front because I really consider this to be a risk modifier, right? Okay, so as far as the other instructions are concerned, we've got be more expressive, which is going to encourage a bit more creative freedom from our players. Now, remember, when you are raising mentality, you're also artificially within the game. Some of these roles and duties, some of the roles, not all of them, they may have increased creative freedom, right? As I did explain this a while back, I think it was FM19. Whether it still holds true, I'm not sure, but it used to be the case and I still believe it's the case. They haven't said otherwise since then. We have no other instructions to talk about standard directness and tempo. So we're matching the passing directness to the mentality of the system. So you want to drop it down to balance. You don't have to change anything. Just leave that in and your passing is still the same. All right, so those are the team instructions. Let's take a look at the play instructions. Let's get a bit more imaginative here. Okay, so wingbacks are taking no risks. What does this mean? It just means that these guys probably are going to be playing a sensible and patient passing game. They're not going to try and, ping those balls down the line all the time. If you find your wingbacks are always getting the crosses blocked, you may want to consider using a fullback on attack or a fullback on support, but this takes away a lot of the attacking potency of the system. So the wingback on the left does the same thing, except in this particular case, he is going to be pinging the balls to the far post. He's got a slightly different job. While he takes fewer risks, whenever he does a cross, he's going to be crossing into this region here, where we might have a trequartista, a complete forward, and a wingback arriving late, right? So this is the option that we have over here. On the left line, we got a Mazzala, we close down more. We've got this guy tackling harder. We got a DLP who's doing nothing much, but enjoying life in the middle of the park, trying to spray passes around. We got Trequartista who's also hanging about the creek and just having fun. We got a shadow striker here who's been told to roam and close down more. So we've got this guy, he's doing a side press. So the only players who are not really pressing are 1, 2, 3, right? The rest of the players are. This guy is pressing a lot because of his role. He just tackles harder, right? But if you try and modify his close down more instruction, you can't. You can't do anything more than that because he's locked into his role. Then we've got a complete forward up top who's also closing down more. So we are operating with a split block of sorts. And these players are just going to be applying pressure on the final third. Now, this is not an easy system to pull off. I'm going to be very, very straightforward with you guys. Okay, it's fun to play because I've seen a lot of very nice goals. The shadow strike, the attacks when they develop, they're going to develop the Mazzala moving off a bit wide because to support the width, and then the wingback on attack is going to bomb down the flanks, and with the shadow striker pushing off in roaming from position, we're applying a lot of the pressure in the final third. A Trequartista does drop off, right? So it sometimes drops into midfield and he does create issues. I've gone for roaming roles all in the final third because I want them all also to do one other thing. They all move into channels. I've chosen roles that all move into channels. When they move into channels, what this means, if there's a ball that goes this way down towards the flanks, one of them might drift wide to pick up the ball. When he does that, he opens up space in the final third. Right, this space that opens up in the final third can be taken advantage of by these players who are arriving late into the box. It's a dynamic system that requires a fair bit of thought into your players. So let's start with some of the attributes that your team will need to pull this system off. All right, let's take a look at the set pieces. We'll begin first with the corners. Defending corner routines, you might be surprised. Why don't I have anybody here? You don't really need one here because this is the keeper stuff. This is where he rules the roost. So you want to make sure that the keeper has good command of area, air reach and jumping. If you ever defended with the keeper before and you're staying in his position, the problem is when you put too many players there, when the keeper tries to, if he's got good area reach, he's going to find it really hard for him to push out and claim the ball. Which is the reason why I'm leaving that space free. Now, if your keeper has got poor aerial reach, then you shouldn't be using him. That's the first thing. He's got like, I've had a keeper with 12 aerial reach. I had to put somebody in this area just to help him out, right? So you want to put your best jumpers in this position, allow the keeper to claim, and that's all you need. You only need, I've written about this in my book before, the one that people get when they support me on Patreon, right? So normally I recommend marking only 3 positions: this position, the central position, and the furthest position. If you have a good keeper, then you need to mark 2. You're gonna have 2 man markers. These are blockers for any players arriving late, and then we've got 3 go backs and 2 at the edge of the area. Now these 2 players at the edge of the area are going to help you mop up balls that are cleared. So these guys, the idea here is when they win the ball, they Andre all the way up the pitch, or they look for this person, they look for this player, and he Andres down the pitch as well. So as he goes zipping down the pitch, we want this striker to arrive unmarked. You want this player to have good acceleration, passing decisions. Right? You want this player to have good acceleration, vision and passing, ideally, right? Or you can put him behind and put this guy here. So these 2 guys combine, and he has to bust the gut to get in front. As far as the attack routines are concerned, I love the short corner routine. Okay, so what I normally do is I I have a player who's got good dribbling, right? And he's got the long shot on him. So these two players will both have long shots and dribbling. What they do is they pass the ball to each other, then they pass the ball. This guy goes around him, right? Or this guy brings the ball in, and then they go around this position. And usually by then the defense is too late. They're trying to bust the gut just to close them down. And then what will happen is this guy reaches this area and he takes a shot at goal. Now, when the opposition have a player in this position, right? Your team is not going to pass. Your player is not going to pass him. As it only takes one opposition player to be popping up around here, and this corner routine will stop. Which is the reason why sometimes what I do is, in some of my routines, I actually have it on mixed. So I have the option, right? I can go near post, far post, short, edge of area. These are my set piece routines. As far as the throw-in routines are concerned, well, let me see if I've got a shot. I like these routines a lot. I'm sorry, but I like the short routine. I know there's lots of people out there who like the long throw, but I don't find the long throw efficient. I know it's exploitative in a manner of speaking, because it's got this looping trajectory and I hate seeing it, so I never use it. So I play it short. Now when you play it short, there's a lot of fun as well with this system. What happens is when you got players who can dribble with the ball, okay, what will happen is they bring the ball out and then they start taking pot shots from outside the box. So you really want one of them, at least one of them, to have a very good long shot on him. Same here, you can play with 2 or 3. Now this is a slightly different routine. What will happen is he passes it short and then he'll look for one of these options, or he's going to go for the box, right? Again, this is entirely optional. If you want to go for the long throw routine, then I would recommend always having a DC here and another DC here. If it's a long throw that you want, right? Okay, so we'll do the long throw like this, right? Then you don't really need this player here. You just put him here, and you ask him to launch his ballistic missile into the box. You can actually put 3 here. The more players in the box, the merrier, right? So you've got these two. These become the natural target of the long throw specialist. You can actually put in another. You can put him like this as well. So you got these 2 here. He comes into the box. This guy is actually challenging the keeper, making it harder for the keeper to claim the ball. As the ball comes into the box, if it hits him, it's a gimme. If it flicks over, if he can hit it across goal, then the striker comes in to score the goal, so you can have him look at far post like this. So this will be a long throw setup. Comes from him. He marks the keeper. This guy is looking at the far post for waiting to profit of this guy's knockdowns, or he goes for goal. There's a mess up. Keeper screws things up. This guy is here to do a tap in. If this is the long throw, and I don't like the long throw, so you guys want it, I'm not going to include it, but you have to figure it out your own. Okay. Now this system is going to be very challenging to play. Don't get me wrong. You might want to consider trying it out with fullbacks on attack if you're a bit worried about the boys pinging up the pitch. However, the moment you do that, you will start removing some of the attacking potency from the system, because largely what we want to do is we want those guys to bomb down the flanks. Which is the reason why those wing backs, if you are going to be playing this system, you need 4 wing backs in your team. You can't survive with 2. You need 4 of them, which makes the wing backs one of the most precious commodities in the game. You're going to be training a lot of them. You'll be looking for wing backs with good acceleration, anticipation, positioning as well. They'll have to be able to cross the ball. They'll have to be able to bring the ball forward. If you have wingbacks who get further forward, then maybe you want to play them in a fullback on attack role. And because wingbacks on attack, playing the overlap with the get further forward instruction just seems to sound like overkill to me. So you might want to consider the fullback on attack. The overlap is artificially positioning them high up the pitch already. So it's going to be a very challenging system for a lot of people to play. And if you have a sweeper keeper and you see him pinging the balls up too prematurely, he's probably running out of options. And if you play the ball short to the ball playing defenders, if they get caught out, they put under pressure, then you may want to consider asking the sweeper keeper to play it long to down the flanks, where you're hoping that the ball winning midfielder or the wingback on attack will help receive the ball. So that's another option that you might have. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you found it enjoyable. If you did, please hit the like and the subscribe button and keep the notifications on. Once again, I want to thank you if you're not using ad blockers when you're watching this video. It helps put the little presents under the tree for my kids. So thank you very much. So you guys, once again, I want to thank all my patrons for the continued support of this channel. You've been absolutely fantastic. Again, to the FMSCOUT, thank you for hosting this video. I hope it goes out to more people, because generally, I you know, quite a few people ask me for Christmas tree formation. Once again, big health warning. Please use it with care. Have a lot of fun. Merry Christmas and have a good day. Bye-bye.